I'm not sure if I feel like recording right now, but I know Andrew's going to come in any minute now with the mics and such.
Oh, there's Justin. Oh, he's a sleepyhead today.
Yep, I sure am.
I wonder
Sleepyhead
if he's
McGee.
ready for some podcasting.
I don't know.
Let me set up the microphones here. Oh, I almost forgot. I brought some snacks.
Hmm?
I'm going to set those right over there. We'll eat those later.
Wait. Hello, welcome to Nothing New, a remake podcast. Hi there, my name is Justin Quizon. And with me, as always, is...
Hi, I'm Andrew Linde.
Boy, I feel perked up and ready to... Are you... Just let me grab a little nibble of that before...
Oh my God, you ate all the snacks. I didn't even know that was possible.
I am good to go. All right. Well, today on the show, we are talking about a specific lazy fat cat who has warmed the hearts of America since the 70s.
Yeah.
We are talking about Garfield the Movie, 2004.
And the Garfield movie from 2024.
This keeps happening when we do this show.
Really? Well, and the thing is, this is now... Chris Pratt also was in both. He was in the Super Mario Brothers, the Super Mario Brothers movie.
And like, there's a big 20 to 30 year gap since the last attempt. So So here we are.
Yeah, Justin. This is where a weird thing comes out where I reveal I'm a Garfield fan. I read the books. Growing up, read the comics. I used to read the newspaper. Garfield was always in there. I remember watching Garfield and Friends. It's really a wild thing where I'm like, yeah, I really do like Garfield.
Andrew?
Yeah.
Same.
I mean, good. I think that's a good angle to come from.
We are the generation
that
watched and read Garfield on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I was a big Garfield fan too. I also read the comics. I also loved Garfield and Friends. I have an attachment to Garfield, so I was a bit of a Garfield fan. I will totally admit to that.
And I'm like, I know the deep Garfield lore. I know where Odie actually comes from. I know what's the deal with the John's family farm.
Right.
It's one of those things where it's like people think like, oh yeah, I like Garfield. He hates Mondays and eats lasagna, and I'm like, you don't even know.
That's basic.
That's where it starts.
Oh, and everyone, no, he likes lasagna and he's lazy. That's like the surface level of Garfield knowledge.
Do you even know how important Pookie is?
I don't think you do.
I do. It's one of those insane things where it's like, yeah, that's how I know I'm a nerd. I'm like, I enjoy these weird little Garfield facts, and one of the other like strange bits of Garfield that I like is any of the comic strips where he had to deal with the spiders.
Yeah.
That was so funny to me.
Yeah.
Because it was just, he would hit them with a newspaper, but they'd always have some funny thing to say, or like, they'd be like, oh, not today, or whatever. It was, I don't know why. And that's something that they've really never taken advantage of in these movies. Sure. There's just so many weird little characters that they just don't want to deal with in these movies.
No, that's very true. And like, again, it's strange because I actually, normally we say, when was the last time you ever saw the original film? I'm not going to get to that.
Yeah.
But like, I would say it's great that you and me both have come out and went, you know what? I liked Garfield. I grew up digging Garfield. I actually remember as a kid, obsessed with the cartoon. I was obsessed with the cartoon. I loved Garfield and Friends.
Garfield and Friends is great.
Garfield and Friends is great.
Yeah.
Any other cartoon Garfield associated in that period, I loved it too. But also I remember very distinctly the first time I really read the comics, I was at my aunt's place and she had one of those collected books.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I was there for the entire weekend with my family and I read that thing cover to cover.
Yeah.
And they noticed I was on the corner or I was just like sitting in the couch reading it. And by the end of the stay, my aunt was like, you can go ahead and keep that.
Wow.
And I went, wait, I'm like, really? And she's like, you've read that more than literally anyone who lives in this house. Go ahead. And
That's funny.
So yes, I was a very big Garfield fan as a kid. So jumping into 2004.
Yeah.
At that point, I will admit, Garfield is a more of a passing thought. I still have a bizarre fondness for him because of just child nostalgia, but it's not like I was catching up with Garfield material. I wasn't really reading Sunday Funnies, period, at this point. So, of course, though, when you mention we're making a Garfield movie, my reaction to that is, oh boy, here we go. Because we've already... We started this journey of how do we do the animals, comic strip, cartoons in a live action movie role. And the question is always, well, how are you going to do Garfield? Like, not even talking script or anything. What's he going to effing look like?
Yeah.
Like, that is where question one comes into play.
That's a big question.
It's a huge question.
For the 2004 movie, they said he's going to look bad. They just made that choice. We all look. I think the thing is, we all right now we remember the journey from original, as people call him, ugly Sonic,
yes,
to the Sonic that ended up in the movie.
Correct.
They should have done that for Garfield. Like that.
Right.
That was the people who made ugly Sonic are the ones who made ugly Garfield, essentially.
The people who made ugly Sonic and defended the choice to make him look like that looked at Garfield 2004 and went, see, that's what we're aiming for. And we're like, why did you think we wanted that?
Yeah, no.
You know?
There's a lot of, I mean, I want to get into cast and plot, whatever.
Sure.
Since we're talking about the look of Garfield, there is a choice that the people making this movie made when very early on they have Garfield next to and speaking to a regular cat.
Yep.
What?
Yes.
That's such a bad choice because it highlights everything that looks wrong about Garfield. And it highlights how they just should have used a regular cat if that was what they were going for.
Right.
I think part of the problem, it was the Scooby-Doo effect.
Yep.
Because that Scooby-Doo did look like Scooby-Doo. It didn't look that horrifying. It looked like what you expected Scooby-Doo to look like.
Yeah.
And the other thing about Scooby-Doo is he does, human gestures. So they couldn't have just done, in past, they would have just had a dog sitting there and done the fake mouth trick. That was, do you remember the early 2000s where every movie with animals, they had to do the CGI mouth and it looked horrifying?
It was the wrong lessons they learned from Babe.
Yes.
Where Babe did it so beautifully, so elegantly that everyone went, got it, so mouths need to move. No. There was an art to what they did.
Yeah.
Like, it was a combination of CGI and Muppets and etc. But, also it was, there was a thought. They put thought into, right, so animals should move their mouths. No. I think you're not having the same conversation as me. And this is what happened.
Yeah.
Because it is horrifying. I agree. I agree 100% that when you're like, the moment Garfield, a fully animated cartoon CGI monstrosity, is talking next to a regular ass cat, my brain went, why? And because here's the thing, there are two, if the filmmakers and the studio, I'll put a lot of blame on Fox, gave two shits of having someone come up with a creative thought to this movie. The creative thought is to ask the question, is Garfield the only animal that looks like this? Or do all animals look like Jim Davies drawings? If they do not, then Garfield has to look like a regular ass cat.
Yeah.
Because we have to, it's the reality of your world you're creating has to be thought out. But since Garfield is not a regular ass cat, he is a CGI thing. The rest of the animals you've decided are, well, we don't want to put that much. They should just look regular animals. Which I'm like, but why does Garfield look like a monstrosity?
Yeah.
The other mistake this movie makes is having his mouth move when he talks.
Yeah.
Because the point of a Garfield comic strip and the cartoon is that these are his thoughts. These are essentially Garfield's mental thoughts.
Yeah.
So when John talks to Garfield and his mouth don't move, the joke is Garfield saying an answer that John can't hear.
Yeah.
But when you have a scene where John is speaking to Garfield, hey, Garfield, can you do that? And he talks with his mouth agaps and moving around going, nah, John, I'm good. It seems weird because then, wait, should he hear that?
Yeah.
He does not because he is still a cat. But because also, here's the other problem, because this movie started the Garfield talking with his mouth moving, now his mouth always moves.
Mm-hmm.
This movie created a problem for Garfield media from this point on.
Yeah. You are correct. I think then the second mistake that this movie makes, as far as if you're going to nail, okay, fine. If you're going to make Garfield look like a monstrosity, fine. He kind of looks like the cartoon. Kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Fine. We get it. We wanted Garfield. He's the main character. He's got to look like the cartoon. Can't just do a regular cat. Whatever. Okay, it's too expensive to do the rest of the animals like him. Okay, I guess we can make that work.
Sure,
just don't have them next to each other. Oh, you want them all next to each other? Fine, that's your choice. Then their next big mistake is Odie. Odie doesn't look like Odie. That's a big problem.
Odie doesn't look like Odie.
Odie doesn't look like Odie. Which that's to me is a huge problem.
Yes.
Because if you're going to make Garfield look like Garfield, Odie's got to look like Odie.
Odie, here's the thing, like, because Garfield and Odie are an act.
Yeah.
They're a duo. So if Odie is a regular dog and Garfield is a CGI cat, they cannot act as a duo because Garfield has to act with a real dog. And that is hard if the dog has to do his limitations of what a real dog can do.
Yeah.
Odie has to do the same kind of stuff.
They make Odie just a dog. And I would say, if you look at Odie's design in the cartoon, a dog doesn't look like that anyway.
No.
Like then they just picked a dog that doesn't even look close. Especially, and I mean, I think what they're going for is Odie needs to look cute. So then they're recognizing that the CGI monstrosity doesn't look cute.
Correct.
So
That's
they
true.
picked a cute looking dog.
Yeah.
Kind of a generic dog.
Dog, yeah.
I mean, they're recognizing it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it.
No.
It's like they looked at it and they were like, oh, yeah, Odie needs to look cute. It's like, okay, well, what about Garfield? Well, he needs to look like Garfield. Okay, why are you doing two different things with the two main characters that will be interacting a lot? Yeah.
No, it is. These are just the baffling choices made on a pure Garfield aesthetic.
Yeah.
On a pure Garfield 101.
Mm-hmm.
This
This is like they could have shown you the trailer for this movie without sound and in black and white, and you would still catch all of these things.
Right.
It would just be like, wait, what? Huh? What? Huh? You would just have like 100 notes right from that.
No, and it kind of goes again. Here's the truth. The reality of this movie is so very obvious: is that it is a cynical cash grab because Garfield's a popular IP, and we are just making movies off of everything. I know people are, FYI, people. This is Hollywood's always not been very creative when it concerns just making a fast buck.
Yeah.
And look, is there anyone involved in this movie who cares about Garfield? Probably not. Probably
Yeah, I don't
not.
know. I don't know about that one. And I mean, the other thing is, as far as Garfield movies go, like this was a big deal because it was live action and in theaters.
Yes.
They've released other Garfield-esque, like animated movies, all that stuff.
Specials and things like that. Yeah.
A cynical cash grab is kind of a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
Where it's just like they have been pumping out things.
Right.
And this was just like, oh, if we do live action, oh yeah, live action,
And it makes sense because like that's the one place he hasn't gone to quite yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that. No, they haven't done live action yet. Live action is kind of like the last like place to grab anything before we move on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the thing where I was like, someone was going to do live action Garfield at some point. I guess it's all right though. At least we took care of that in the early 2000s before we moved on to the nows. So here's the other thing.
I guess it's so great. I never even considered until I just brought it up where it's like, I guess it was Scooby-Doo did this to us.
It really was.
Because that for some reason hit so hard with our generation. And I mean, yeah, CGI Scooby does look a little scary, but he looks like Scooby. Like, and he acts like Scooby.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think here's the funny thing is that like Scooby-Doo, the live action, if you're noticing something, the live action movies based off of animal based properties.
Yep.
All have at least done at the moment a live action version, and then 20 to 30 years later, they have gone ahead and gone back to a completely animated version again. Mm-hmm. Scooby-Doo has been back to Scoob. Mm-hmm. Garfield the movies, now the Garfield film, and even our last episode where we broached this topic, Marmaduke.
Now, Marmaduke in that film was a real dog.
Yes.
Because I think that was made a couple of years after this, so they'd realized...
Just stick with a real dog. But Marmaduke didn't talk.
No.
That's another case of why... Look, listen to our episode of Marmaduke. I don't want to put any more breath into that.
Yeah, it's a whole... I mean, he didn't talk, but they gave him a voice. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. Here's the other thing where it's like, again, it's since we've established we are guys who are at least aware and are knowledgeable enough about Garfield. John Arbuckle has to be a pathetic human being.
Yeah.
Absolutely pathetic. And you can tell this is where you can kind of tell here the casting and the way John's written here is they could kind of care less. And this is no knock to the guy per se, but they went with Breckin Meyer. And I guarantee it, Breckin is not the first choice. Breckin was probably choice number 6.
It's, that kind of thinking is what leads me to be so baffled by Jennifer Love Hewitt being in this movie. Truly and absolutely baffled. I still can't explain it to this day. She's above all of this.
I have to tell you, watching this movie, I have never felt more bad for Jennifer Love Hewitt and Breckin Meyer. Mm-hmm. Specifically Jennifer Love Hewitt. Because keep in mind, in the early 2000s, late 90s, they were pushing Jennifer Love Hewitt hard to being the next big female lead.
Yeah.
They were pushing her hard. And it seems wild to me that it was only a couple years that she went to non-existent as a person female lead in this movie.
Yeah.
There's a scene, I never felt more sad for the two actors. There's a scene in the movie where they are going to drive, they park to go to this dog event they're bringing Odie to. Mm-hmm. And they park the car, they get out of the car, and they walk what feels like a solid 30 to 40 seconds to wherever they're seating, not saying a single line of dialogue.
Yeah.
And you would think, oh, maybe because Garfield's talking. No, Garfield was not talking. That would have made sense because Garfield would have, oh, okay, maybe Garfield wanted, no. It's a silent scene. And I'm like, do these two not want to speak to each other?
I have to imagine the script for this movie was like 50 pages. Truly, like, the movie's already like...
an hour and 22 minutes.
It's under 90 minutes.
It's under 90 minutes.
And then, okay, Bill Murray.
Let's talk Bill Murray.
Now, there's the oft-repeated story that for some reason, Bill Murray thought that the Joel Cohen working on this film was of Joel and Ethan Cohen.
Right.
But this is Cohen with an H.
Yeah.
For some reason, he told this story. Maybe he actually thought it. It seems like I discovered a rebuttal to this, which is from one of the writers of this film. Who is it? Alex Sokolow, who's the other credited co-writer besides Joel Cohen.
Yeah, yeah.
He had said that is, I don't want to misquote him, but I believe he said that's bullshit. Because he had to have known that it was not that Joel Cohen of Joel and Ethan Cohen, the Cohen brothers, when he signed up. And I believe maybe it was just like a miscommunication. That's the only thing that I can come to figure is that maybe Bill Murray just heard it, said, okay. 6 months later, they say, okay, here, you're going to record these lines. And he's reading it to finally record the lines.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, there's no way this is. And then he realizes, oh, I thought it was the other one. But whatever the case, the other Bill Murray story is that he personally ad-libbed a lot of Garfield's lines.
That sounds about right.
Which, yeah, it's Bill Murray. I feel like he does that on every movie. That's kind of his comedic style.
I would say this about the casting of Bill Murray as Garfield, because I remember when I first heard about it, of all places, and this seems to be the one that makes most sense, we learned about the casting when I was at a comic book shop.
Oh.
And they were like, did y'all hear who's voicing Garfield? It's the guy, the shop owner. And it was me and my friends. And we're like, no, who is it? Bill Murray. And we all went, oh, that works. And the reason we said, oh, that works, because legendary Garfield voice actor, Lorenzo Music.
Yep.
Who is in my brain still the voice of Garfield in my head. Lorenzo Music has another famous role he did, which was a Venkman in the real Ghostbusters, which means he sort of played Bill Murray in a cartoon.
I've always thought this as well. This is
right?
Like, it's always tracked for me where I'm like, Bill Murray actually makes sense.
Right.
For Garfield.
Yes.
He has the right, like, tone.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think his comedy is that, like, it's, lethargic is the way you describe his comedy. And that's Garfield. That's fully Garfield.
If they didn't get Bill Murray, you know what we would have been saying 20 years later? Why didn't you offer it to Bill Murray?
Yeah. Exactly. And I kind of like his performance as Garfield. His voice sounds correct.
Right.
And then I think the way he's doing the lines and the lines that he is doing, they all sound great. I'm kind of like, if the plot of this movie was entirely different, I could kind of like I was like, I could see myself getting into this.
This is the only correct choice the movie made.
Yeah.
The only 100% you nailed it choice is casting Bill Murray as Garfield. That is the only part. This movie is like, that's actually brilliant. Good on you. That's the only part. Outside of that, what the fuck?
It truly makes no sense that that's the one thing they got right.
Like a broken clock is correct. That type of stuff. It's like a bad choice to make a movie cynically. You made one correct choice. You shelled out the cash for Bill Murray.
I would like to believe that there's a guy who was like the Batman producer, but in that story where there's like one guy pushed really hard to make the Batman movie, had the rights and he got it all done. Like there must have been one guy who was like die hard Garfield fan. He loved Lorenzo Music's performance. He knew that he was Venkman. He was like, if I can get Bill Murray, it's perfect. Yeah, and he did that, and he was like, I'll retire. Like he was like, I'm done.
I'm not making any movies.
He's like, there's no other choice to be made. I'm like, he's like, there's no. How could they mess this up? How could they mess it up? And then they do.
They found a way to mess up literally everything else.
Everything
except Bill Murray as Garfield.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. This movie, we just cut to the fucking bone. This movie is a mess.
It's for some reason it's an Odie origin story.
Yeah.
And as I alluded to earlier, we know where Odie comes from.
We actually know.
In the comics, there's an explanation that he belonged to John's roommate who moved away.
Yeah,
that's the story.
That's the story. Some people don't even know that.
Yeah,
and it's been and history. Other media has rewritten this history, but no, Odie belonged to his roommate, and then just at some point, the roommate's gone.
It's a classic thing in a comic strip where they have a character that they realize they don't need anymore, and they just stop writing about them.
Right.
They might give them one exit comic, and then they just never mention them ever again.
Yeah.
But Lyman,
Lyman, that's him. That's it.
He was Odie's original owner.
No, exactly. Because
and then that's the funny thing is not to get too drilled down on it. It makes sense that one guy had a cat, one guy had a dog.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Right. No, and again, if you were a fan and you gave two shits, you'd start the movie with Lyman and Odie, and then eventually you can even start the movie where Lyman's like, "I have to leave and I can't bring Odie."
Well, or they could have, there's so many ways that they could have just.
There's ways to be cute about it.
Like, yeah,
right.
like what? I mean, they could have had the bad guy named Lyman. Then we'd be like, that's
sure.
a little reference.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Because unfortunately, the bad guy is Stephen Tobolowsky.
Which I guess is sort of a reunion of Groundhog's Day between him and Bill.
I was like, what the hell? How did they? I was like, there's no way that they knew that each other was working on this movie.
No.
But that's so funny.
Yeah. I want to talk about the director for a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So the director is Peter Hewitt. And I was wondering, why do I know that name?
Yeah, what the?
Like, I was like,
who is this guy?
That seemed like that. I should not know the name of the guy who directed the girl. What other things has he done? And then I looked it up. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
That's so crazy. What?
Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. And you know what? I love that movie. So it is one of those things where it's like, from what I can tell, that's the second feature film he's done. And his rest of his filmography is like children's movies.
I would say solid 90s movies that kids saw.
Tom and Huck.
The Borrowers.
Right.
Yeah, it's like these are,
No, I don't know if anybody's watched Thunderpants, but I mean, that's a thing.
It had isn't that the one where...
It's about the kid who farts.
Yeah, isn't there
yeah, Rupert Grint's in it.
Yeah, Rupert Grint.
I don't think he's Thunderpants himself, but he's in
one
it.
Of these. Well, he was put on the cover once Harry.
Oh
Potter
yeah,
happened.
yeah, that's true.
That's how everyone knows that movie. And he did Zoom, which I remember seeing. Tim Allen teaches superheroes. Yeah,
yeah, that was the movie. He did that immediately after Garfield. So yeah, weird period. Of film. Yeah.
That is truly. Oh, he did Home Alone: The Holiday Heist. I've seen that movie.
Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, indeed. Yeah. Oh, indeed.
So,
Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
I just saw who did the cinematography on this movie. This is insane.
Please.
It's Dean Cundey.
What? Mother. No,
so insane.
I missed that. You can the amount. Okay, again, folks,
we're just doing the Dean Cundey cinematography,
folks.
filmography.
If you don't recall why I'm acting like this, it's because Dean Cundey, great cinematographer. Once again, I'm going to list his accomplishments and then wonder he must have checked out mentally when he did Garfield, because his filmography includes Halloween, The Fog, Escape from New York, The Thing, the Back to the Future trilogy, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Jurassic Park, Apollo 13. That guy did not show up for Garfield the movie.
Yeah. Was that right? Oh, he's still kind of went after that. Wow, he did The Holiday.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And don't forget, we were talking about him in Roadhouse. Because he DP'd Roadhouse, and Roadhouse looked fantastic.
I mean, yeah.
Now, this is a...
This is so crazy.
Wow, God, he's so checked out mentally in this movie, because like even like his other kid films like Flubber and Casper, like even the fucking Parent Trap looked better than this movie.
Yeah.
This movie, I almost feel like he went, put a light here, and I'm gonna sit over here.
Yeah.
I guess here's the wild part. The other reason to bring him in was the fact that you're going to have a character who's mostly CGI.
Yeah.
And mostly an animated character. And with his experience of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, I can see they like bring Dean Cundey in. Yeah. And, well, he made the movie that he made.
It's a real mix of... That's the thing. I think we can't blame any one person for what's wrong with this movie.
No.
Because so many people made wrong choices.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I feel more bad for Jennifer Love Hewitt.
I agree.
Breckenmeyer, I guess I feel a little bad for, whatever.
But Jennifer Love Hewitt, again, she was a star that they were pushing.
Yeah.
Making her, she was set to become a female lead of the early 2000s.
Yeah.
The early 2000s, like, level of, like Julia Roberts type thing. They were pushing her hard. And then, this.
And you know what? I bet Stephen Tobolowsky was having fun. He plays these kinds of roles all the time.
This is the thing about a guy like Stephen Tobolowsky. Yeah. I agree with that. Because Stephen Tobolowsky is one of the dudes who's like, I just love working.
And they love to make him like a villain like this.
Yeah. He's very good at
like
that.
He can really get slimy and mean.
Right. I totally agree. And I don't feel like... I don't feel super bad for Stephen Tobolowsky.
And I even think they threw him a bone by having his character have a twin who appears on screen.
Yes, we would have a full head of hair.
Truly, like that's... I think any actor, if they're on the fence about doing a movie, they'll say, we're giving you a twin, and then they're in.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Definitely, the one I think of the most is Now You See Me 2.
Oh.
The twin for... oh my God, what is his name?
Shit. I don't remember that.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
but it's truly insane that his character has a twin, and Now You See Me 2. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, that's how they got you back. You weren't coming back until they said you have a twin.
What if you get to play a twin?
Yeah,
Ooh,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't even... I mean, and then the Stephen Tobolowsky, his name is Happy Chapman. I don't think... Is this a true Garfield character? In my mind, it's not, but maybe it is. Maybe he's never a villain in the show.
I feel like this
in
is
the comics. They just make him a villain for the sake of the movie.
It's one of those things that I feel like they just need a name, and they figured that's a funny name from the list of the character names we got.
Yeah.
I mean, again, they don't care about who's who in this thing. Like the relationship between Dr. Liz Wilson and John Arbuckle is that Liz can't stand John Arbuckle, but she immediately goes out on a cute meet date with him in like 5 seconds of their first scene together.
Mm-hmm.
Normal.
Yeah. I don't even want to talk about it.
No, I want to talk about Normal. Because I was so like, when Garfield's like hanging out, like when Garfield's sitting outside, and then another gray cat comes to him, and he's like, hey, Garfield, how's it going? And then he's like, hey, Normal. And I went, pause. What? No. Normal is the cutest kitty cat in the whole world. Normal is a cute cat that Garfield is annoyed by because they're cute. They're super cute. That's the whole point.
Yep.
But Normal, you picked him. You just decided to go with the name, and then you made Normal the dumb, weird friend.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not saying these are deep characters, but if you can't get the basic right, what are we goddamn doing?
They might as well said, this is not your grandpa's Garfield.
This is not your grandpa's Garfield.
Normal's a weirdo now. Like, what? Huh? Why? Why would they do this?
Also, like, the rules of the world is strange sometimes. When you say, with Garfield, you can't overthink shit like, well, how come some animals talk, but some animals don't? Right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't, like, the comics are that. Garfield, but it's like, Garfield, the way you look at it, like Garfield, you can read Garfield's head thoughts because you're the reader. You can't read Odie's because the book's not called Odie. The strip's called Garfield. So Garfield, you can make the argument in your head that Odie sounds like a dog because Garfield just thinks he's a dumb dog because he doesn't understand Odie.
Very possible.
That's a way to look at it.
Yeah.
But here, since Garfield's moving his fucking yapper along with the other cats.
Yeah. Oh, God. This is a tough one to think about.
It's I don't want to. It's just like my brain doesn't like it. You know? Like my brain's like, it's too much thinking. It's too much thinking. Let's go do I want to do a quick little roundabout of who's the voice casting these things.
Sure.
Just because it's fun. We've already mentioned it. We already mentioned Bill Murray. We got Alan Cumming as Persnickety. I don't even remember this character.
I don't think this cat speaks until like one of the final scenes when they're breaking out of the pound or whatever.
Yeah.
This character was the cat that the bad guy was using as his mascot until he got Odie.
That's right.
So this character literally didn't speak. So like I'm saying, I think the script was 50 pages.
Yeah.
They were like, oh yeah, last 10 minutes, we better introduce this character.
Yeah, for real.
That you've seen before and will not remember.
We got Nick Cannon, because this is the early 2000s, and Nick Cannon was very popular as Luis, the quick-witted mouse.
The mouse character was good.
Yeah, I like the mouse character.
There is something where when this movie is trying to do like regular Garfield stuff,
Yeah, it's
it
fine.
kind of gets it right.
Yeah.
Like Garfield and the mouse, where it's like John's like, oh my God, there's a mouse. Garfield gotta get the mouse.
Mhm.
And Garfield's like, okay, now I gotta con John into thinking that I ate the mouse.
Yeah.
And the mouse is like, yeah, I get it. You can put me in your mouth because I want your cheese next week.
Right. Like here's
yeah.
the rules. These are the rules of the house, dude.
That's classic Garfield.
Yeah, no, that stuff works for me. That's
Uh-huh.
fine. David Edinburgh as Normal.
That he played Steve on Sex and the City, which if you know that, it's like so funny to hear that voice and be like, wait a second.
Yeah. If you're familiar, you're like,
what?
You're Normal the cat. Brad Garrett, who I immediately recognized as Luca, the aggressive Doberman.
I haven't looked, but I would guess Brad Garrett has 1,000 voice roles, right?
Right.
There's no way that he's just...
No.
There was a period of time where he was just in everything.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you're like I get it. He's a very distinct voice. The only thing, I think he even did like a Gleason thing a couple years back.
Wow.
So like, no, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel in an unnamed a character that was unnamed in the film.
I have no idea who this character was.
Yeah.
And I can't even think of what Jimmy Kimmel sounds like as a voice, you know?
Right.
Like, I was like, I don't even know.
Deborah Messing as Arlene, Garfield's love interest.
I noticed that Arlene showed up at one point, and I was like, are we doing this?
Yeah, but I'm like,
this movie doesn't have room for this.
There's no time. There's no time for this. Richard Kind as Dad Rat. They put a filter through his voice so you can barely realize it, but hey, I always like Richard Kind.
Yeah.
And Deborah Jo Rupp. Oh, from if you're familiar, That 70s Show, the mother from That 70s Show. She's a mom rat. You know, that's fine. Here, you know what's? Oh, this is so funny. I'm looking at the production notes, and that's so funny to me. So, okay, supposedly, Jim Carrey was considered for the role of John Arbuckle.
Makes so much more sense.
Okay, so this is what's wild to me.
I mean, it would have been, you know, he would have added some pratfalls. Fine.
Right. But here's the funny thing. As I was talking about this movie with my good friend and for a guest on our episode of Addams Family, Victor, where he brought up the other, you know who would have been a wild choice but probably would have fit better is Jim Carrey as John. And I sat there and went, yes, because one, Jim would have had more fun playing this pathetic Arbuckle. Mm-hmm. Two, you're right, pratfalls would have been at least something there, something more physical, because that would have been something he could bring, but also John is, you know, sometimes get caught up in like, ooh, whoopsie doozies, etc.
Yeah.
He's also the correct age, you know?
Yeah.
Like he's probably the more closer to the age that I kind of imagine John.
I was just going through my mind of who's like peak John. And I think it's just because I just watched Beethoven, but Charles Grodin would have been a good John.
Oh.
In Beethoven, he was a little old for it, but if it was around that time, I would have bought it.
Now, he is not a big name, but a live-action choice I would have picked from circa 2004 is SNL cast member Chris Parnell.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well, it's because now he's making his bread and butter in that kind of character. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like, but now whenever someone's trying to cast that character... Yeah, from Rick and Morty, I would think, or even from Archer.
Oh, it's true. That's true.
His character on Archer has that same kind of like pathetic energy, where it's just like, that is funny, and I think he plays into it, of course. Like, of course. He knows he's good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have been great, but yeah, it would have been one of those where people go, who's this?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, yeah, and Breckenmeyer is...
I know, right? I think at least people kind of knew Breckenmeyer.
I almost feel like Breckenmeyer was their attempt to try to appeal to a younger crowd, because they're thinking maybe teens might know Breckenmeyer.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, I guess... I guess.
Yeah.
Because he was in Road Trip. Yeah. Right. Yeah. He was in that one.
Yeah.
Remember Road Trip? Yeah. No, right. Don't yell at me. But
I guess in a weird way, he would never do it. I think he would never do it. But like, could Adam Sandler be a good John? Maybe.
I think
Adam Sandler goes a little man-child, but I think he has that pathetic energy.
He has a pathetic energy. You know. Keep it Garfield. Oh yeah, maybe that's a choice. It's funny because I was thinking back on like the other live action animated movie where there's a human character and animated cartoon characters, Alvin and the Chipmunks. And I was thinking, was Jason Lee the right call as David? And then I sat there and went, you know what? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. Because you know what? He can say David's most famous line, Alvin, pretty well. And that's all you really need out of David.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look, I'm not, again, these aren't deep things. These aren't deep characters and deep tropes, etc. But at the same time, I feel like if you're not even trying, what are we doing here?
Now, okay. I think we've come this far. Now I have to bring up my biggest gripe with most things Garfield related.
I am so ready for this.
Garfield stays at home.
Yes.
Garfield is not an adventurer.
Yeah.
Garfield has never run a day in his life.
Yeah.
I think all of these things are known if you read one Garfield strip.
Right.
So why is it every time they make a movie, they want him to go on a big adventure?
Yeah.
Why do they think that is the step to take?
Because it's, right? I mean, here's the thing, though. It's like, I get it, because their brain's like, you can't do a movie that's entirely in the house. And I'm like, well, then you're not trying.
Yeah. Do you not know what property you're dealing with here? Now, I will allow Garfield and Friends had some adventure to it.
Yeah.
But I think, maybe because it was a TV show, the stakes were pretty low.
Sure. Yeah.
That's generally how it was.
Right.
For a movie, they feel like they have to up the stakes every time.
Yeah. No, this is a standard movie expansion issue every time. Remember when we were talking about, oh God, of all things, our Tom and Jerry episode?
Yes.
They had to put him on a big adventure to justify making a movie out of them.
Well, I think that was more of the problem with was it like the 90s one?
Mm-hmm.
When they did the modern one a couple of years ago, they had him in a hotel. That felt more classic.
That was like narrowed down.
Scaled down.
Yeah.
Still a bit higher stakes than normal, but still, it was like, yeah, they're in a hotel.
Listeners, did you remember that there was a Tom and Jerry movie a couple of years ago? Did you all remember that? Remember it was on HBO Max directly? Chloe Grace first. Y'all remember that?
Right. She was the...
I was going to tell you. I kind of forgot it until we brought it up in this episode because it made sense to bring it up. But I bet you most of you forgot that existed. And the Marmaduke episode anyway.
Given the way that HBO Max is handling everything, it maybe doesn't exist anymore.
That's true. Maybe if I click on it right now.
Go search Tom and Jerry and
don't
Max,
exist.
And it just is not there.
Blank. They're like, what's that movie?
It didn't come out.
You made it. Did we? Oh my goodness. Andrew, I don't know what else we can say about this film.
I want to make sure we hit on, this is an Odie origin story.
Yeah.
Where for some reason Liz, the veterinarian, is trying to get rid of a dog and thinks that John should have it.
Right.
That's like the origin of Odie.
Yeah.
So we're meeting Odie for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Garfield don't get along, but then Garfield kind of gets along with him, which is always the Garfield-Odie balance.
Right.
So they're kind of hitting that note correctly.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, there's a TV personality guy
We need a bad guy.
who wants to steal Odie, and then it happens that Garfield locks Odie out of the house, and then an old lady finds him, and then he uses the old lady to steal the dog.
I love that you're speedrunning the plot. That's totally fine.
Then Garfield realizes he has to go steal Odie back.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, the Stephen Tobolowsky is into animal abuse. Really
weird.
Yeah, really strange.
The only parts I kind of like in this entire sequence of the entire movie are stuff like, okay, like I said, Garfield doesn't leave the house. That's even his shtick here.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't leave the cul-de-sac. What the hell is that? But I do like when he decides to go save Odie. It's all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Takes a couple seats. Oh, man. I'm so... we can grab a snack and let me just chill for a second. And it just cuts to him watching TV, munching on chips or something. I'm like, this is right.
Yeah.
This is correct. And then he goes back and, all right, now I'm ready to do it.
He sees a commercial where when he watches TV, he sees like a commercial that reminds him or tells him where.
Oh, yeah, there was a series of just multiple he kept pumping every time before he decides to go save Odie. He kept changing channel. It was a dog thing after a dog thing after a dog thing, and he's like, "Are you kidding me right now?" Look, I'm not saying there's not anything not funny in this. This is fine, but yeah, the majority of this movie is a whatever.
Yeah, big whatever.
Anyway, he goes off.
Yeah, he goes and he saves Odie.
Saves Odie. The movie is clearly shot in L.A., but it's not set in L.A.
At one point, we see there's a freeway, and they just say the city.
Yeah, I caught that too.
Uh-huh.
It's clear that the big finale takes shot in Union Station, not Union Station in the film, but it's absolutely Union Station.
Mm-hmm.
You believe like Union Station can say we filmed Blade Runner and Garfield the movie here.
Yeah, sure. That's on a plaque right at the front door.
I'm sure there are other movies. No, those are the two we're most proud of. Really?
Garfield was here.
Deckard was here. So was Garfield. I see.
But yeah, and then they catch the bad guy. Like, what do you know?
That's
John gets to punch him for some reason. John
gets
shows
a
up.
big hero moment for some reason.
Why? I don't know.
I don't understand.
There's a part where he walks into a secure building. John and Liz are following Garfield or trying to find Odie or something. Yeah. It's a little unclear.
Mm-hmm.
They walk into a building and there's Garfield's paw prints perfectly in powder in front of him, and he goes, "Garfield was here." I'm like, "What? Huh?"
How do you know you're look? I know you're a dedicated pet owner, but can you really? Pet owners, please disagree with me. Can you actually identify your loving pet by their paw prints? If you do, I'll shut up. But right now, that's a stretch.
And then, but then the security guard is like, "You can't be here," and then they just move on to the next room.
Truly, some real dramatic tension.
Big stakes going on here. But yeah, and then I would be remiss. A friend of mine who I've done podcasts with in the past. We've never had him on the show, but maybe we should, because he had a really funny take. His Letterboxd review of Garfield.
Oh, please.
Was that some of the writers of Toy Story worked on the script, and you can really tell because at one point, with Odie and Garfield, it's just the Buzz and Woody story from Toy Story 1, where Buzz is removed from the house and then Woody has to go find him. That's what happens here. Garfield kicks Odie out and then has to go find him.
Oh, no. Truly?
I did not need that information, but now I must share it with everyone because holy shit, they ripped off Toy Story and couldn't even do that right. You know what I mean? They really just made some choices on this movie.
I didn't even realize that.
So, yeah.
Well,
that's all I can say. It's, they, for some reason, this movie happened. Bill Murray was the best part of it. Mm-hmm. Against all odds, I would say.
He could have slept through this.
Yeah.
He could have been
we have both seen movies where Bill Murray is in where we're like, oh, he was not into this.
Right.
For some reason, he was into this.
Yeah. No, agreed. I'm surprised that he actually he tried.
Yeah.
Even if this was his B effort, he still tried.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about that? I never want to go through this again. But we might have to, because after this break, 20 years later, if this was the origin of Odie and John, we got to experience the origin of John and our big orange fat cat. Take a break, and we'll see you back here with Linde.
To all who come to this happy podcast, welcome.
Animusings are your musings.
Here age relives fond memories of the past.
And here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future.
Hi, I'm David.
And I'm Kayla.
And if it wasn't readily apparent from that, we're huge nerds about Disney. That's why we're doing the Animusings podcast.
Once a month, we'll sit down and talk about a film in detail from the Walt Disney Animation Studios filmography, covering them in chronological order, from Snow White to Moana and beyond.
To Moana and beyond!
Sweetie, we're not doing Pixar yet. We'll do that after.
And that's gonna be a long time coming. Anyway, if that sounds up your alley, come join Kayla and I, and maybe a guest or two, as we explore the Disney animated canon, film by film.
With the hope that it'll be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world.
Ooh, nicely said.
Don't thank me, thank Walt.
All right, the lasagnas are in the oven. We have just enough time to listen to a little preview of something new, our Patreon exclusive. That's right. If you go to patreon.com/nothingnew, you'll be able to find bonus episodes available just for $1 a month. And some of them sound like this. Well, and when that happened, I was like, oh, I fully understand. Like, this sounds like Garfield to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that lingers into the Garfield and Friends era. Like, it becomes like the sound of Garfield in a way that I was like, did they know what they were doing here? Like, they got Lou Rawls to do this music, and it just influenced what we think of Garfield forever?
Because the mood is correct. The vibe is correct. I'm going to say this right now. The music in this half-hour special slaps. It's
fantastic.
It's damn good.
That was one where I was like, I wasn't expecting this at all.
I was expecting that the music in the special was going to be actually really damn good.
Yeah. What is the...
That's right. Let me just get a little... Oh, it's still not good. You'll be able to get the entire library of our exclusive only to Patreon episodes of Nothing New, including remakes we came up with, including episodes that are like comparison episodes that are only on there, and we plan to never really put them on the main timeline. And for around $25, you could also control the show and tell us what to cover. We have got plenty of great episodes from that deal, and you can go ahead. Hey, if you really want us to jump ahead and do that specific remake that we haven't covered yet, and we've been around since 2017, give us a little extra money. We'll jump ahead for you and cover those movies. Now that we've gotten that over with, we have to also now get this over with.
So Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties. No. I will say Fate decided I wouldn't have time to watch that because I started watching it. Here's the crazy thing. We didn't even talk about this.
Cheers.
Both of the live action Garfield movies are on Disney Plus.
Yes.
They're on Disney Plus. This is not that Hulu on Disney Plus baloney.
Directly in Disney Plus.
They live in Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that. I was like, what? Huh? So I started Garfield Tale of Two Cities. Didn't have time to finish it. I didn't even get that far in it.
Yeah.
Looked just as bad. Looked worse, honestly, because it had to be. Because they had to make I got far enough to find the convoluted reason why John is going to London. Because that's where they go, of course.
Of course.
No, we're going to be talking about the Garfield movie, which is yet again Chris Pratt takes a role away from a voice actor. I want to start by saying he was better in this. Better than Mario. I think he kind of has a little Garfield energy.
Yeah.
He can do it. He can muster that up, which is good because you kind of need that. If he didn't have that, I'd just be like, whatever. But he kind of had it. I'm going to
agree with you on that. It wasn't that bad. It was fine. I think this is a little bit more fitting. This is touching like Andy from Parks and Rec's vibes.
Yeah.
To a certain degree.
He was hitting like the sarcasm.
Yeah.
He was hitting that. Where I was like, okay.
Yeah.
You're not the worst.
No. Side note, I know we're in this period of bitching about Hollywood and lack of originality and things like that. But I am at the point where I'm like, can we just try harder than The Blank Movie as a title now? Just, you want to give it a go? You want to just put a little effort? Sony made the Lego Movie as well. Now they made the Garfield movie, the Emoji Movie. Just, I don't know. Try. let's just try.
You know, that is tricky because what would this be called? Garfield Origins? Like they would just call it just Garfield?
Garfield 2024, of course.
Yeah.
Like, remember when, like Halloween, we have to call it Halloween 2018? Is that still, it's like, that's not even the official title, but it's the only way to really separate it from the original Halloween movie. And Halloween 2018 so technically a sequel. So whatever,
Yeah.
And then Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends are sequels to. You know what? I'm not here for that. I'm not here to talk about that. That's not the conversation. We are here to talk about the Garfield movie, 2024. Chris Pratt as Garfield.
Chris, that's like the headline. Chris Pratt as Garfield.
Yeah, Chris Pratt as Garfield.
News at 11.
And this is another movie where it's like a very big cast of just like, hey, those are fun actors I like. Getting thrown a decent amount of money to play this.
Can I tell you? Okay, we'll get to all the rest of them.
Yeah.
There's one that I want to talk about right away because this is a situation where 2 weeks before I went to go see this movie in the theaters, I didn't know who was playing John. And I honestly think they decided it 2 weeks before the movie was in theater. I have no idea how this went under the radar that Nicholas Hoult was John.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
To this minute, I'm baffled.
No, I want to point out, when did you watch this movie?
The weekend it came out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Andrew, I've waited. I delayed my viewing of this movie till literally yesterday.
Wow.
I was so not excited to watch it that I pushed up until yesterday when I have to do it tonight.
Wow.
Because I had my last Saturday was free. Utterly free. Yeah. And I could have been like, I got a couple hours to sneak one in. And I literally just felt like Garfield and went, but I don't want to. I want to stay on this chair and watch something else.
Yeah.
So it's kind of my surprise to point out that I actually thought this was not as bad of an experience as I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
If I could be honest, I think this is just slightly more watchable than the 2024 film. Not by much. Because I think 2024 film's like a mess that's jumbled in the editing room with a lot of weird choices. Here is that well, that's more of a movie. Not a good movie, but it's more of a movie, and certain Garfield things are more correct. I'll say that's here. Odie, because the whole thing's a cartoon, that Garfield and Odie as a duo thing we talked about, well, it's here.
Yeah.
That's a little bit more. That's deserving half a point higher than the other movie.
Yeah. They do make the choices that Odie serves Garfield.
Yeah.
Which is not the wrong choice, but certainly it's that's something you kind of build to.
Right.
And this film is kind of already there.
Right.
This is not an Odie origin story.
Yeah. And we get the origin of Garfield per se, but we don't get it's not in that period though.
Well, I have to point. This is the trend of your favorite character as a baby. Ever since Baby Groot changed the landscape of pop culture, everything now is oh my God, could we show our character as a baby? Is that possible?
What if baby?
Yeah.
What if baby?
What if baby?
Even if this technically wasn't him in Mandalorian, we all went, what if baby?
Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda.
Come on.
The fucking Mr. Peanut.
Yeah.
What if baby?
Yep.
So you're right. The beginning of this movie is what if kitten?
Mm-hmm.
I do want to jump back a little bit on John for a hot second.
Yeah.
Because I realized I didn't want to lose track. I forgot we lost track of that. That's my fault. I like Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah.
I like him a lot. I think he's a very interesting actor.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell he was trying to make a character.
Yeah.
You can tell he was trying real hard. But also, because he's not... I've seen him speaking in an American accent. And it works. I've seen him do that pretty well. But I think he was well, it's a cartoon. I got to push it. I got to push the performance even bigger, right? Fair instinct, correct. I don't know what he was doing here. It was a performance that I'm I don't know what... I don't think you quite figured out what your angle here. It was strange.
The funny thing is, right after or right before. It was right at the same time I watched Renfield for the first time.
Oh, sure. Okay.
And I was like, well, yeah, that's a fine movie. Like, it kind of goes nowhere, but, you know, that's its own thing. It's fun for a minute.
Yeah.
And it's really like, we were just talking about John is pathetic.
Yeah.
Renfield's pathetic. I understand that instinct.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, yeah, this guy can play pathetic.
Yeah.
And then him as John here is like, well, he's amped up. There's something amped about him.
Right.
And also the fact, he's not American. So he's already putting on an accent and then amping that up.
Yeah.
It's like you lose the patheticness somewhere in there.
Exactly. No, exactly. And I feel like, you know, to point out, you were saying it earlier, but I agree to this one point you were trying to say with John is just that, like, I feel, you know, like with this whole, like, if you found out 2 weeks ago, he was playing this role, it seems like Nicholas found out that he was cast 2 weeks before the movie came out. I feel like that's the performance comes off as.
I honestly, like, my conspiracy theory now is that they had like 4 voice roles as John, and up until they needed to make the poster that said Nicholas Hoult as John, they were like, do we swap it? Like, they must have had like 3 other guys where it's like, okay, this is just a comedy guy, but he's not his biggest name is Nicholas Hoult, but he does a better John. And they were like, no, we need the big name Nicholas Hoult, which is like such a crazy thing to say because obviously he's been in the X-Men movie. Like, he is a big name, but it's like insane. It's almost the Breckenmeyer issue.
It's almost a Breckenmeyer issue. And this is, again, I am so sorry, Breckenmeyer. No offense.
And I'm so sorry, Nicholas Hoult.
But this is almost the same issue. You're right. Like, I think that's 100% correct. It's like, what if it was like, can we get a Paul Rudd? Paul said no.
No, Paul said no. Come on. He's in Ghostbusters. He's with Bill Murray right now. He got the call. He looked at Bill. Bill said no. Like, that's what happened. Are you kidding me?
Oh my God.
But yeah, Nicholas Hoult. I was like, what? I don't know. Whatever. He's John.
Right.
We'll let it.
Fine.
We like him enough. He can do a good job.
Yeah,
he's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I want to point something out. Look, this is again, much like the other film. There's a bunch of actors that are interesting and fun. And like I like them and etc. And it's a cartoon movie, so fill it up. Fine, you get it right. You know, I'm looking at Harvey Gulen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I love Harvey Gulen. I love what he does what he would do in the shadows. Great actor, hilarious.
This is perhaps this role is less thankless than. Do you remember him in Blue Beetle? Wasn't he in Blue Beetle?
Yeah. Yeah. And he showed his face there.
Yeah.
And he had dialogue. Yes. Harvey's Odie. Why?
A character who doesn't speak.
Like, he's just barks.
They cast an actor that a lot of people like to make the barking and grunting noises.
That is utterly ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is a waste of your money.
Yeah.
And waste of his time.
I wonder if they were hoping that it would be like, remember, wasn't Alan Tudyk Hey? He was the chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's like, that's different. Okay, let me.
That has a little different energy. Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying though. It's like, okay, here's the thing. Like, Alan Tudyk, the deal with Alan Tudyk in Disney movies is that the joke is they like Alan so much, even a smallest role as possible, they want Alan in the film, right? It's like as I had the luck to interview him many years ago for Wreck-It Ralph 2, or Ralph Breaks the Internet. He said at a certain point, I love that Disney decided we need the Alan Tudyk role, and I appreciate that day ever since. But it's like, that means he can go big villain, supporting character, or can you just be the chicken?
Yeah.
And that's fine, because it's almost like, it's like the John Ratzenberger thing.
Yeah.
100% it's the John Ratzenberger thing.
It's definitely the John Ratzenberger
And it's just for fun. Here, it's like, it's not like Harvey did a bunch of other roles for Sony Pictures.
And it's like, not, the fact of announcing him as the voice, like, is before any, it's like, almost trolling the fans,
Yeah.
like people who actually care. It's like, what if Odie spoke in this movie? I guess I'd just begrudgingly accept it.
Right.
What can I do?
And I thought I was waiting.
Yeah.
I was waiting because I actually learned about his casting as Odie before I saw the movie. So I was like, how? So I'm watching the whole movie and I went, is there a scene at the end?
Is there going to be a dream sequence or
Like,
something?
end credit sequence, end tag thing? You clearly must have done something to justify casting him. The answer is no.
Yeah. This is one of those things where a lot of the cast is people who are in TV shows that were hot in the last like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you have like Brett Goldstein and Hannah Waddingham are from
oh god, I love the show. Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso.
Janelle James, Abbott Elementary.
Yeah.
Bowen Yang, kind of one of the big breakout actors in SNL recently.
Mm-hmm.
Cecily Strong, and they're like kind of classic SNL, recent SNL actress.
Yeah.
It's
one of those where I was like, and the other funny thing is, I've also just watched The Fall Guy.
Oh yeah.
Which also had Hannah Waddingham in a
It's
weirdly similar role.
It's Hannah's year, might I add. It's the year of Hannah Waddingham, and look, I'm for it.
Justin, I regret to inform you, I'm against it.
Why is that?
By
I
this
love
movie,
her.
I got tired of it instantly. I was like, oh, this is just what she does. I'm like, I don't.
Look,
care.
I'm gonna excuse this one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna because if I'm gonna be real honest, if we weren't doing this show, this would have never been in my radar. I would have never watched it on my own volition. I would have been like, oh well.
Smarter minds.
I would have moved on my life and still enjoyed her in projects. But regardless of that, it is a weird thing. Also wild to realize that we haven't even touched upon the other big name.
I mean, yeah, we really have to. There's something bizarre. We're both going to be real right now. That's what's happening live during recording. Did you get it? I got mine.
All right. Sorry, folks, as you're listening to this.
That was,
I saw that and I went, you know what?
I saw you reaching for your phone and I went, oh, and then I got the notification. I was like, there it is. Let's be real and talk about Samuel Jackson in this movie.
Let's talk about Samuel L. Jackson.
So when it was announced that he was going to be in this movie, as Garfield's father, I was upset.
Sure.
Because once again, I saw it as clear as day that the powers that be, whoever is in charge of making Garfield into movies, completely misunderstands what makes Garfield fun. And it was just like going to shoehorn him in to some zany, stupid adventure and make some shit up. Because ignoring the history of the comics, ignoring side characters that are beloved by the fans, they're just like, hey, we've never done Garfield's dad. Let's do that.
Right.
I was like, bullshit. Come on.
Even the movie, in the beginning, is self-aware of the idea. Because the beginning of the movie has Garfield literally talking to the camera and going, you're going to see a story you've never seen before. So they're aware the father of Garfield was never touched upon.
Well, Garfield's parentage never mattered.
Exactly.
Like, it just never was an issue.
But we're doing it now.
And that did kind of win me over. When I started the movie like that, I was like, all right, you got me. I'm like, you have 60 seconds, make this work. And it was like, all right, it worked. Great, yeah, fine. But yeah, and then there is like, only in the world of animation could you cast Samuel Jackson as Chris Pratt's father and not have to explain all of that away.
Yeah.
And I do want to, look, I'm being real. It does feel a little bit uncomfortable to me that they make the choice that Garfield's kind of criminal absentee father is voiced by a black man.
Yeah, no.
That feels to me a little uncomfortable.
No, I agree.
Where I'm like, uh-oh.
No,
Samuel Jackson has played all kinds of characters throughout his career.
Yeah.
I know he can do all of it. I know he can win us over, even if the premise is that he's not actually a criminal or he was trying to provide for his family, whatever they want to say in this movie.
Right.
But that's just when you put it down, this is what this character is. It's like, no, what a choice.
The optics is
Yeah.
not good.
Mhm.
And you can kind of tell that like they were not thinking it through when they did that casting.
Yeah.
So I want to point out, and I think, and look, I think Samuel Jackson's fine in the movie. He's fine. He's doing Bill Murray level work of, hey, he's trying harder than he probably should. And that's fine, But you're totally right.
Yeah.
That is bad optics by having that character do those tropes. That is sadly something that the Black community, I'm not here to speak for them, but I know that is something the Black community always wants to walk up, like try to stop being a trope for actors.
Yeah.
And the fact that here it is, in of all things, a Garfield movie that they did.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't point out, there's another orange cat who famously has an ex-con father.
Mm-hmm.
Heathcliff.
Yep.
Why would they even...
Why would you steal from Heathcliff?
Why would you do that? Come
Look,
on.
no one. We have brought in the cat that no one seems to want to talk about anymore.
Yeah.
But we should. How dare you steal from Heathcliff? He only has so little.
And what he does very well.
Yeah.
He doesn't do Garfield's shtick.
No.
Garfield, don't do his shtick.
No.
Let it... Come on.
Like, be fair. Why steal? Like, he's not even doing anything right now. There's nothing new with Heathcliff. How,
Yeah.
It's unfair to Heathcliff.
Mm-hmm.
This is also another one of those cases where the plot is taking Garfield out of the house and putting him on a big wacky thing and yada yada yada.
Okay, I will give this movie the credit where Garfield doesn't choose to leave the house.
Yeah.
He gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
That I'm like, okay, we're going to explain why he's out of the house because of that. He's just trying to get back home.
Yeah.
That's a way better angle than him having to be active,
Right.
proactive, and go after someone.
Right.
And then they tried, they do the emotional father-son reconnecting thing.
Mhm.
I think they do well enough with it.
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
No, I was surprised that I was patient with that stuff. I thought like, oh, it's gonna be eye rolling, and then I feel like as they get to those scenes where I'm like, okay, maybe this is working enough for me. It's not great, but it's not like I don't like reject it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen movies where they try to do stuff like that, and I go,
Yeah.
I'm good. Here it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, all right. That kind of makes sense. Especially when we're recording this, like, tomorrow's literally Father's Day.
Garfield, the perfect Father's Day movie. Reconnect with your son and watch Garfield.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
I didn't think so.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Truly never. It's such a... This movie also does take the time to do, I don't know, what, like 15, 20 minutes of like just solid Garfield stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's just like, here's stuff you've seen in the comics. We're going to do it in this animated style with a little extra energy and a little extra funniness. Yeah, when he gets the big chair, that's funny.
That's funny.
Like, and that feels like classic Garfield.
The Monday sequence, as I'm going to call it, that is like they're going like, okay, here's where we're going to do all the strips in like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
But I'm like, well, I appreciate that because I can identify this as the strips. These are the bits from the comic book. That's kind of fun, And here's like they decided also to throw this big other story in here concerning two cows.
Again, I never would have expected.
Yeah.
Even considering that Garfield and Friends, the John's Farm plots that occur within the actual Garfield comics, this is not. This is just something out of left field.
I want to put something out because we brought up Garfield and Friends a couple times already. I really was hoping that the farm element that's in this movie, it's like, oh, come on, throw me a little bone.
Yeah.
Throw me a little bone for those characters. Even if they're just like stuffed dolls or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a rooster character. There's a pig character.
Yeah.
Like, I actually was like fond of those characters as well as I was Garfield in that cartoon show. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it was like USA Barn or USA Farm. I forgot like the other name. I think it's John's Farm or
Barnyard or something like that. Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, that would have been cute. You know, like anything. No, all right, fine.
Yeah. Instead, it is a farm that's gone out of control with
corporate Capitalism, baby.
Yeah. The bull who is the logo, who's in love with the cow, is like locked out of the place.
Yeah, the bull played by Ving Rhames,
which he just gets to do his Mission Impossible shit, which is so funny.
Okay,
once I realized they were doing that, I was like, oh, this is actually really fucking funny.
Here's the thing. This is the wild part. I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah,
because at a certain point, I'm realizing like they mentioned Mission Impossible. They even get the music Mission Impossible.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, all right, that's a little standard joke that I've seen a billion times, and maybe I kind of want to retire that joke, but fine. And then a little bit later, there's the music from Top Gun.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's 2 Tom Cruise references. And then finally one more thing where he's like, I do my own stunts. Well, me and Tom Cruise. Why are there 3 Tom Cruise references?
That is truly bizarre. Did they want Tom Cruise in this?
Did they want Tom Cruise in this?
I don't know.
It's like, did they want Tom as John?
Did they want Tom as Odie? I don't know.
You know what? I want to say something. Yes, I feel like it's a waste of Harvey Guillen's talents to be Odie. I think it'd be hilarious if you shelled out the cash for Tom Cruise to be Odie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that'll actually be hilarious. Because it's like, why? Well, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, why are there 3 Tom Cruise references? It's the strangest choice.
There's 3 Tom Cruise references besides the fact that Ving Rhames is in this basically doing his character
100% doing
Luther Stickle.
Yeah. He's essentially, but he's playing his character.
He's basically playing because he's on the laptop with they put acorns in their ear, which is okay. That's kind of funny.
Okay, right.
There's a lot of like dumb like kids humor in this.
The acorn joke is sort of funny to me because it's one of those like they just hand waved it.
Yeah.
Because it's like they're like, oh, here's your communication, and Garfield's like, acorns. Yeah. I mean, you don't have walkies? No. Anything with Bluetooth is better than Bluetooth. This is better than Bluetooth? And then as we're getting into the mission, he's like, all right, can you hear me? And Garfield's like, I can't believe this is working.
Yeah, it's funny.
And I'm like, I hate to say it kind of worked.
Yeah.
This is kind of weird. See, this is why I'm saying it's a little more watchable than the 2004 film because like there's more stuff in here I find more entertaining.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not really in love with this movie, but there's a slightly more watchable. There's a couple of bit more comedy beats that I think are a little more funny, and I think there's attempts at trying to create some sort of like emotional stuff with Garfield and his dad. That I'm like, oh, that's actually not too bad.
Yeah.
I think you guys are kind of getting there, you know. And there's more stuff that feels more correct from the strips. Again, I actually really like how Odie's used in this. There's a bit of business where like you can tell Otto and Odie they get each other. And Otto looks at Odie and is like, you're the smart one. And there's this bit where Garfield and his dad are just arguing each other. And you see Odie doing something around them as they're just arguing and bickering. And then you cut to the Y and you realize that they're both tied up and Odie tied them up. Because it's just Odie's vibe of, you're going to have to figure this out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's actually a very Odie move. Odie would do.
It's a funny movie. I think, when they break into the farm, that it feels like, in the old one when he had to break into the tower.
We need a madcap sequence.
Yeah, we need a place where people could run around and chase and do whatever.
Yeah,
something that they don't do in the Garfield comics, but we're just going to let go. It's a movie,
it's a
whatever.
Movie. It's a movie. You do these in movies. So it's some sort of factory or conveyor belt. They love conveyor belts in these sequences.
This one at least gets it right. It's a place with food.
That's true.
Garfield loves eating. Put him in a place with food. That's funny already.
A big old block of cheese where he's just eating it and has no problem with it. Totally fine.
The guy on the security camera looks and he's like, something ate our block of cheese. That's impossible.
Actually, I want to.
It sounds funny.
We didn't put a pin on this, but I feel like this actually is a place I would have put a pin on from the previous film that I think does make this film a little funnier in that regard.
Oh, the blocked air conditioner or whatever.
No.
The blocked vent, right?
No. It's this bit where, okay. Hannah Whittingham's cat character calls the lactose factory. And like she's pulling out this whole villain's like plan, telling them, like informing them that someone's coming. And I'm saying, she's a cat. Like, what? So people can understand cats now? The answer is no, because then the other people in the receiver are just going meow 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 meow. I'm like, okay, that's funny.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. That's actually pretty good. Where they take it too far,
Yes.
is that there's apparently an app in this universe where animals can be translated and you can understand what they're saying. And I went, okay, that's a cheat.
Yeah.
That's a massive cheat.
It really is.
No, it's a super big cheat, and I don't like that. But yes, having her do this whole like, hey, yes, and someone's gonna, and like clearly she's like backstabbing them by laying out this trap. Cut to the people at the other end hearing like, I'm just hearing a cat. I don't know what's happening. I go, that's funny. I'll give you that. But yeah, they also ruined it very quickly by creating this sort of cheat. And then went, all right, well, you lost me again.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I feel like the movie goes. It sometimes is like, oh, that's actually not too bad. And then it goes lower down.
Yeah.
You know. But there are things just, we said it already, but there are shockingly certain things that are just a tiny bit more watchable here and a little bit more entertaining.
Let me see. There's... Oh, yeah, her name is Jinx. Hannah Waddingham plays Jinx, an evil Persian cat. That was a whole... I was kind of... The weird backstory there of, like, Garfield's dad left her to get caught or something. But then I kept waiting for the other thing to drop that's Garfield's mom. Do you think
I was thinking that, too.
Yeah.
Because then where's Garfield's mom?
Yeah, I guess the sequel will be... the search for Garfield's mom or whatever.
Yeah. Garfield Mew.
I just don't, I was like, I couldn't tell if they had that idea and rejected it or if they never had that idea at all.
Because there's a lot of implied Jinx and Vic clearly were like a couple of some kind.
That kind of felt like that.
Yeah.
Like it was, they worked together, but it was like deeper than that.
Right. Yeah, I feel like I got that vibe too, and I was actually waiting for that reveal, which we never got. Because that would have made her a little bit more vindictive of a villain. So you putting your kid through this?
Yeah.
Well,
or she could have done the classic every villain at the end going like, actually, you want to side with me because I'm your mother. Yeah.
I want once again bring up director. Director is Mark Dindal, and much like Peter Hewitt, he did make a movie before that I'm like, wait, I like this movie. He directed The Emperor's New Groove,
which also had a villainous cat.
Yes, one of the best like jokes at that movie is Eartha Kitt. Yes, Eartha Kitt becoming a kitty cat at the end.
Yeah,
and like one of it like, that's my voice. That's my voice. That movie. I know that, okay, we're not here to talk about Emperor's New Groove, but I know the history of that movie is so complicated and so ridiculous that the fact that there's not only a watchable movie, but a fairly entertaining film.
Yeah.
That kids love to this day is kind of surprising to me.
Have you seen the documentary?
There's a documentary?
I don't think it was released officially. I can't remember what it's called. It has a funny name. It's like the something. It's about the making of Emperor's New Groove and how it changed through the process.
Wow.
I can't remember who. It was someone related to the production was making it, and obviously, if the movie went well, it would have just come out as a bonus feature.
Right.
Because they talked to Sting, because he did songs.
Right.
And they talked to everyone throughout the process.
Yeah.
And it is really interesting to see how it changed, what made it change, all of these things that happened to it. And it's still a pretty good movie.
I want to point out, I also looked up what else he's directed. And apparently, I think director is a Catman. Because his first directing gig, Cats Don't Dance.
Mm-hmm.
This is all starting to check out.
Wow, he was in the animation department for the Tom and Jerry movie. Tom and Jerry movie getting a lot of movies. Animation department for Mickey's Christmas Carol.
Also, side note, like his one live action animation department job was also in The Rocketeer.
Wow,
that's cool. That's
but
wild.
yeah, he did work animation department in Aladdin, The Little Mermaid.
Mm-hmm.
He's been here the whole time. The Sweat Box, that's what it's called. The Sweat Box is the documentary.
Oh my god,
It's really crazy.
I have to watch that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's hard to find. Maybe I don't know if I still have it.
But anyway, regardless, no. Looking at Mark Dindal's filmography, dude likes cats. Because even the Emperor's New Groove, it's not Eartha Kitt wasn't a cat the entire film, but one of the most memorable moments of the film is the finale where she becomes
a cat.
a cat. Much like you said, much like Jinx.
Yeah.
There's the same vibe. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's much of the same vibe as Jinx. Chicken Little he also did, which I've never seen. Yeah. How about that? That's a hell of a thing.
It's quite a movie.
Yeah, it's quite a movie, quite a filmography. That's starting to answer some questions about why. That's probably the reason why there are some things in this movie that are actually not too bad. Because I love Emperor's New Groove. I think that movie's hilarious.
Who put this out? Is this a
Sony Pictures?
Sony? Okay. Oh, it's through Alcon. Well, yeah. Weird.
Here, what's funny too is also seeing, and if you listen to our Patreon, which you should, we have a fun special on that one, is seeing the multiple things I've had to sit through for 3 variations of Garfield stories. It's almost all of them are, and this is kind of like the structure of it to a certain degree, because it's like each Garfield story for the media that's not comic strip has to almost do the same things because it makes sense because it's pets. But almost every one of these stories begins with Garfield waking up John, Garfield going through his day, Garfield having to get out for some reason, probably because of Odie. And they get locked up or get caught up in some fashion. It's funny to me the amount of the times here I am again in another situation where they're locked up somewhere, or they have to meet up with these people, or Garfield has to save Odie. Weirdly enough, I don't think Garfield has to save Odie in this film. I think we are good on that.
Yeah. I love a train sequence, but this was crazy. This was too crazy. And then it was a callback to earlier in the film. He uses an app to get a bunch of food delivered, and all the drones delivering the food help him fight Jinx.
No, that was their big dramatic CGI sequence.
That was the joke of a long time on the internet of what if Seinfeld today, and this was truly a what if Garfield today. Oh, he'd be using food apps to deliver food all the time. He's so lazy. It's like, yeah, okay, fine.
I kind of understand that joke. Product placement's a hell of a thing in this movie too.
Oh my god. Well, even in the 2004 one, they name drop Chuck E. Cheese, Olive Garden,
and then a fake restaurant.
Yeah,
he mentioned Wendy's, Chuck E. Cheese, Olive Garden.
It was something tacos.
Something tacos.
Tacos.
So you didn't get a rights Del Taco.
Yeah. So in this one, it's fully just Olive Garden, right?
Olive Garden straight up.
Yeah.
There was a straight up Olive Garden.
Was there another? I can't remember.
Someone ordered off the Walmart app.
Right, Walmart. Yep. Sure.
Yeah, sure. That is that. I don't know how much more we can really. I'm not gonna lie. Look, this is fine. But I don't. It's I'm not ooh man, definitely go watch this.
The movie ends.
Good night, everyone.
with Garfield's dad coming to live with them,
right?
Which I kind of appreciate in that sense of, if they just wrote off Garfield's dad, then this would have been nothing new.
Please rate and review Nothing New, a Remake podcast on your podcast app.
You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at NothingNewPod.
You can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/nothingnnew.
Nothing New, a Remake podcast, is part of the Benview Network.